30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
From the beautiful Fordyce Center in Bellevue, welcome in to another edition, a Friday edition of the George Plaster Show. By the way, we've got our own basketball, and it's very, very official. It's very NCAA. Let's make sure we get that NCAA into it. And we welcome all of you into what is day number 2 of the NCAA basketball tournament, and it is insane. Absolutely crazy, which is exactly what we expected it to be. Billy Derrick, David Wilson alongside for the ride home, and we got a lot of stuff happening today. Mark Griffin will join us in a few moments to talk about Tennessee's narrow escape over Louisiana and a complete A&M meltdown against Penn State. That one has left everybody shaking their heads. Herm Edwards will join us for his weekly visit at 3 p.m. But the first thing we're going to do is get to Billy and get a March Madness scoreboard update.
Yeah, George, let's get to some of the finals already today. We've got 2. Number 7 seed Michigan State handles USC pretty handily. I mean, they beat them by 10, 72-62. And then Xavier just beat Kennesaw State 72-67. That is a 3 over a 14. Kennesaw State was hanging in there most of the game. Thought they might have won it there at the end, but they had a tough foul called on them late. And Xavier ends up pulling away by Kennesaw versus Kennesaw State by 5. And right now, late in the second half, Baylor is up on UC Santa Barbara by 8, 59-51. At the half, St. Mary's leads VCU by 1, 29-28. And Vermont and Marquette are underway. Marquette leads 9-5 early in that one, about 7 minutes in. So Baylor on the ropes a little bit. That's been a tight one with UCSB, but they are up by 8. So it looks like Baylor should win that one.
The real story is Xavier's comeback. They were down double digits midway through the second half, had a huge rally, and a Belmont transfer, Adam Kunkel, hit a big 3-ball with about 3 minutes left that gave Xavier the lead that ultimately helped them to the victory. That was a 3 against a 14, and the term survive and advance, guys, has never been more accurate.
No. I mean, you thought Kennesaw State was gonna win that one. I mean, they played really well in a team that hasn't been in the tournament in 40 years. So for Kennesaw State, you wanted it for him. You wanted it, but credit to Xavier Kunkel, a kid that played at Belmont. You know him well. You know the Belmont team well.
Yes, I do know him well.
He hit a big shot late for Xavier. So I thought Kunkel was a key there. But, George, last night, I want to throw this note out there. Marcus Sasser, the player we've all been watching and looking at Houston, suffered an injury, of course, before this game, but he re-aggravated it. And Coach Kelvin Sampson, after that win, he defended the decision to play Sasser. He started the game but only played 14 minutes before aggravating the injury, limping to the bench, and being pulled from the game. So he, he's a guy that they need, George, but they don't need him aggravating that injury. Now, and there was a lot of people saying, why did he play against Northern Kentucky? Well, in the NCAA tournament, you can't take anybody lightly.
No, first of all, and go ahead and turn me up just a little, if you will. If Sasser continues to have this problem, Houston's not getting home. They're not going to end up in the Final Four in Houston if he's not there. They're simply not that good. Excuse me. On the other hand, my buddy Darren Horn had Northern Kentucky really well prepared. And there was a point where it looked like the Horizon League had a shot.
Yeah, and they never usually win. They never win in March. They usually get bludgeoned. So credit to Darren Horn and his staff for having his team ready to go. George, we've got some other big games today. Of course, Tennessee and Duke tomorrow, but you got another SEC team in action, Kentucky and Providence. That's the primetime game, a little after 6 o'clock. And you've also got Memphis in action late tonight against FAU, 8:20 tip-off there. So this should be a really good day. So far, pretty even with yesterday, but yesterday we had Furman right around this time pulling off the upset over Virginia. And then later yesterday, Princeton knocks off Arizona.
What about that? Guys, you all saw it. I didn't. Did Arizona completely fall apart?
Princeton was hanging in there for the majority of the day, and they just kind of earned it down the stretch. Arizona's ability to not make shots was the difference, and that was the difference in the Kennesaw State game. You know, you go on a scoreless drought of 5 or 6 minutes, you let Xavier get back in the basketball game and go on that 13-0 run. But Princeton was really good yesterday, and, you know, hit threes and you defend the three-point line well. That's how you win in March.
The early lines are out for some of the games tomorrow. Duke is a 3-point favorite over Tennessee. And by the way, in the NIT game here in town, Vandy is only a 1-point favorite over Michigan. I'll tell you right now, I'm going Vandy. When we get to plaster bets of the day, Vandy's better than Michigan.
Oh, they are. I don't get the 1-point line there. I'm guessing Memorial Gym gives you 2 or 3 points.
Well,
so Michigan.
It's the Michigan name that is carrying a little more weight. Now, what Michigan does have is a great center.
Hunter Dickinson. Yep.
He'll be a handful for
That's
them.
the guy for Vandy. He can beat you. He can beat you. So how they defend him is going to be big. But, George, I think these are the best 2 teams remaining in the NIT, Vanderbilt and Michigan. Clemson lost to Moorhead. Rutgers lost to Hofstra. And on the other side of the bracket, that's a pretty weak side of the bracket on that other side. So Vanderbilt and Michigan, this could be sort of your de facto championship.
David, I don't know how much noise people can hear, but there are a ton of folks here. They've got a big tournament going on, which is the case apparently every weekend. There's something like 3,000 kids in and around here.
Yeah, it's a great venue for
Rugrat Fest.
Yeah, a lot of kids running around, George, but they're enjoying it. They're playing a lot of hockey over here.
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, the sizes of some of these kids running around is crazy, seeing them with the sticks and all their pads. But St. Patrick's Day, we didn't even mention it. George has his green on. David and I don't have our green on.
Shame on you.
Unfortunately, and I'm Irish and Catholic, so I'll take the blame for that. But George, all kinds of St. Patrick's Day, all kinds of green here today, and we'll get to some of the specials today at Fordyce. But we've got a couple other notes. The Preds last night had a tough loss.
Very disappointing.
At Bridgestone against the Blackhawks. It was tight all the way through, competitive defensive battle. It was 1-1 heading into the third, but Joey Anderson scored a game-winning goal for the Blackhawks in the third period. And, George, I ask you, does this turn Winnipeg tomorrow into a must-win game? I know I asked you that yesterday, but it just feels like this Winnipeg game is a game you have to have now, especially since you lost last night.
I think if you're being fair, they need to win in regulation. If you're being unfair, an overtime win where they gain a point on Winnipeg would be kind of the consolation prize. But let's face it, if they're going to the playoffs, tomorrow's probably got to be a win.
Yeah, and you know, last night, George, the Blackhawks are a team the Preds can beat. You know, you look at last night. They should have won that game.
They really did not bring an energy level that I've been seeing out of them. It really was very surprising to me.
Yeah, and they're desperate right now. They need wins like that. So the Preds will play Winnipeg tomorrow. So that'll be a big game. 1 o'clock puck drop tomorrow. So daytime.
Little Vandy, little Preds. I'm going to do both.
And the Vandy boys are also playing tomorrow against Ole Miss. So if you're a Nashville sports fan, tomorrow's a pretty good day.
A lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah. George, last couple notes here. NFL free agency. It's starting to slow down a little bit, of course. We've had flurries of move these last couple days, but Cooper Rush has agreed to a 2-year deal with Dallas worth $5 million. He can make up to $6 million on the deal. The Cowboys apparently are making Rush a priority because they know that Prescott goes down. Cooper Rush is that guy that that can play well in this offense.
I mean, he won them, 3 or 4 games when Dak got hurt. He did a really good job. I'm not saying he is at Dak's level, but for a backup quarterback, you can win with him.
Oh, yeah. No, there's no doubt about it. And another move around the league, George, New England has agreed to a 1-year deal with tight end Mike Gesicki, who was let go by Miami. The deal's worth up to $9 million, and Gesicki will pair with Hunter Henry to give New England a nice tight end duo. And don't forget, Jonnu Smith was traded to Atlanta on Monday for a 7th round pick.
7th round, what a joke.
So the Patriots basically said, Jonnu, you're worth a 7th round pick. We like Gesicki.
Wow.
We're going to bring him in instead. So we'll see how that.
I'd like to have Jonnu back.
Yeah, and I'd like to see Jonnu and what he does with Arthur Smith in Atlanta this year. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder. That'll be fun to watch.
He might do very well there.
Yeah.
That's a nice little duo down there in Atlanta with Kyle Pitts and Jonnu Smith.
Whew.
So he's going to get open with some targets. Because Kyle Pitts is going to take the majority of the scheme defensively from the safety in that linebacker position.
Yeah.
Right now, they're just not sure who's going to throw to him.
That's pretty important.
That's a big if.
That's it for the update, George. I know we've got a lot more games to get to. We'll have scoreboard updates all throughout the day. But that's the update for today.
Yeah, Kentucky plays tonight. They've got Providence. That's a game they're a small favorite, about a 4-point favorite. Anybody else in the SEC today?
Not today. Not today,
It's
of course.
just Kentucky now.
Yep, just Kentucky, and they might have done that on purpose.
So the other 7 all played yesterday.
Yes.
Am I right? SEC went 5-2.
SEC went, was it 6-1?
6-1.
6-1. A&M was the
A&M
lone
was the only loss
yesterday. So the SEC did really well and pretty handily. I mean, other than Tennessee last night, and we'll get to this with Mark Griffin, of course, the SEC was pretty dominant.
I think it at least for now puts a stop to the SEC was an overrated conference. Now, whether it's fair to judge everything on one NCAA, tournament day, I don't know. But when you go 6-1, you've kicked somebody's butt.
Yeah.
And that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and, we talked a lot about A&M's seed, how they should have been higher than a 7. Well, we're not talking about that anymore. Penn State handled them.
No, I don't get it because A&M had so much incentive. They hate Texas. They feel like Texas has treated them like kind of a bastard stepchild.
Yeah.
And they had a chance to play them in the second round. You would have thought that would have been enough incentive right there. They never showed up against Penn State.
No, they didn't shoot the ball well, but give Penn State some credit that they're a really, really good team. They've got a really good player. Is it Funk, who had like
7 threes yesterday?
Yeah, he had almost 30 points last night. So that's what the tournament's about. You got to have a guy step up in the bright lights and knock down some shots, and Penn State had that.
The coach at Penn State suddenly becomes a hot rumor.
Shrewsbury.
Yep.
He's done a phenomenal job. They're going to have to pay him or else he's gone.
Texas A&M goes by Wade Taylor IV. He could not hit shots to save his life last night. 0 for 6 when he started from the 3-point range.
Yeah.
If you're not making shots in March, you're not going to win basketball games. And Texas A&M defensively prides themselves on turning their opponent over. Penn State is one of the fewest turnovers in the country per game. So that was the difference in that game. In March, it's all about matchups. And that was kind of a bad matchup for Texas A&M on paper that we kind of didn't recognize, at least from a media perspective.
And you mentioned Wade Taylor. He was a guy that went off against Vanderbilt. He had, 27 points, and he didn't miss. And they won the game, and they dominated the game. But for A&M, like you said, if he's not going, A&M's struggling because they've got other guards, but if Wade, he's the engine to that offense.
They didn't look the same after that first half against Vanderbilt. And against the Alabama in the SEC championship game, they didn't look the same.
No.
This has got to be a real buzzkill.
There you go. Nice pun.
Yes, it was intended. After the break, Mark Griffin will join us. We'll talk about Tennessee's close but cigar victory over Louisiana. From the beautiful Fordyce Center in Bellevue, this is the George Plaster Show. And let's talk to you about March Madness. There are 45 million of you around our country betting on this great tournament. Are you one of those? Well, if you're not, consider this option. Today at Action 24/7, use the promo code GEORGE. That's right, I got a promo code. And get a 300% deposit match up to $20 on your first deposit. Action 24/7 is Tennessee's only locally owned and operated sports book, and I say that for a reason. These are your neighbors. These are folks that live right down the street from you, so they want good relations. If you have a dispute on a game or a question, you simply call them. They'll get back to you, and they'll do it in a quick and efficient manner. Download that app or visit action247.com to start doing all this March Madness winning. But remember, bet responsibly.
How am I going to get to work? My car's totaled.
Skylar, our team is making a call right now. We'll get you a rental car. Don't worry.
That's a relief.
Call us 24/7. We're here. We're going to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com. In honor of the NCAA men's basketball tournament, the George Plaster Show will hit the road Thursday, March the 16th and Friday, March the 17th at the beautiful Fordyce Center in Bellevue. If you've never been out there, you're in for a treat. On the second floor, they've got a great sports bar with a bunch of televisions, so you'll have a chance to see all the games. We'll see you at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. We're back here at the beautiful Fordyce Center, and it's time for our weekly visit with former University of Tennessee star Plaid and Green, or Clad in Green as the case may be. Mark Griffin joins us to talk a little hoops. Mark, happy St. Patrick's Day to you.
And back to you guys. George, I'm surprised you guys are out. That's good to see you at the place that you are right now. It's good to get out a little bit, isn't it?
Hold on here just a second. We got to turn down some crowd noise in here because I barely heard Mark there. It is very loud in here. Mark, let's talk a little bit. Give me your first reaction to Tennessee's win last night, the good and the bad.
Well, I think the good is to see Meshack, what I would say would be the MVP of the game, and someone and you see their number 15, who's not the most consistent shooter on the team, is known for his defensive prowess and such a hard worker, was pretty much your go-to guy when the Vols were struggling offensively, going several minutes without scoring a bucket. it seemed like time in and time out, he was the one that knocked down a big shot. I don't think Tennessee wins without his play overall. So I would say that's the good thing. And also Tyreek Key with his guard play, scoring 12 points, was a bright light. The bad that really stood out to me was just some of the head-shaking turnovers, George. It's one thing to make a turnover when you're trying to create a shot, when you've got a good angle and maybe a great defensive play occurs. But when you're trying to throw the ball to the wing and players aren't watching, or several occasions where you're just not on the same page and you're not even near the basket, that will drive Coach Barnes nuts. So that was the bad. The not so good that turned out okay at the end was Tennessee's defense with Jordan Brown. I mean, here's a guy that was dominating Tennessee. And I think, George, and I'd love to hear y'all's perspective, that, yes, Tennessee was up towards the end of the game, but this, Jordan was killing Tennessee. And I don't know why you go away from him other than the one guard that got hot for Louisiana. But, everything should run through Brown, and maybe you can say a lot that Tennessee's defense had a lot to do with that. But I was a little shocked that Louisiana didn't continue to go into him and get him to the free throw line.
Mark, there was a period where Louisiana went on whatever it was, 13-0 run. And at the point where it looked like it was about to fall apart, I thought Tennessee then got into a lockdown level on defense that was downright scary. Defensively, that's what won them the game.
No doubt. And it's their trademark. And it's what everybody talks about with this defensive team or this team of Tennessee, is how they lock down and the confidence that the team, the players have in each other. And that's another key. It's one thing, George, just to mention, we hold opponents to 58 points a game or whatever, but it's another to know that you can overplay on the wing and someone backdoors a wing player, knowing that there's someone to back you up that's going to be there to help you until you can recover. And you see that with this Tennessee team, that they're really clicking and have clicked pretty much throughout the whole season, even in defeat. They've only had 3 double-digit loss games the whole season, which tells me they're in every game. And that's what you want to be, especially now during the big show, with March Madness, is you want to be in the game. Now, if Tennessee commits 18 turnovers against Duke, it's going to be an ugly game. But let's hope it doesn't go there.
Okay, Mark, let's take this Duke thing for a minute, because everybody has rushed to say it's Duke. Duke's going to win, Duke this, Duke that. Virtually nobody nationally is giving Tennessee any chance whatsoever. I'm not sure I'm willing to go quite that far, but give me 2 or 3 things Tennessee has to do in your mind to win this.
Well, first and foremost, Tennessee's going to have to contain Jeremy Roach, who has played tremendous as a point guard for Duke here during their streak. I know that Duke has won, I believe, 10 in a row. He's played a critical role. Now, the big guy, Filipowski, is going to get a lot of the credit, because he's the guy that the media really likes to lean on. He's their highest profile player as far as being a future NBA player, but it starts at point guard. And one of the benefits is because Meshack is such a lockdown guard, I'm really looking forward to that matchup to see if he can contain Roach, because if he can contain him and not give him space, it's going to take away from Roach's ability to get the ball in movement and to get the ball to Filipowski and to get in the rhythm that Duke is going to want to do and spread it out. So I think that's going to be mainly the main key. I think the second key is going to be making sure that they get rebounds, blocking out their big guys because Duke goes big. They've got 3, as far as the mock draft boards say in the NBA, they've got 3 first-rounders now, and Roach is not one of them. It's Derek Lively, Derek Whitehead, and Filipowski. So when you've got pros that are on the mock board, I think it inspires this Tennessee team to play even harder because they're not going to be looking past Duke. They know this is the national game of the day. I don't believe, George, there's another game at the same time period, that 20 minutes before or after. So, and the guys know, Coach Barnes going to let them know, and they know, they read social media, that no one's predicting them to win. People are already talking about Duke going to New York City and all the alum that are going to be there at Madison Square Garden. So, it could be a game if it starts with Meshack. And I hate to put a lot of pressure on him. Now, the good news, too, is when Meshack comes off Roach, you've got another great defensive player in Triple J. So he can relieve him when necessary. And I think it's going to, once again, come down to blocking out. And an area of concern is end-of-game free throw shooting, just making sure you have it in the right guy's hands, because I think it's going to be a close game that's going to come down to who knocks down free throws at the end of the game.
Mark, it's interesting. Nationally, none of the talking heads are giving Tennessee a shot, but Vegas only has Duke as a 3-point favorite, which tells me they're the smarter money. They know this is going to be a tough, tight game.
Yes, you're right. And man, it's funny how Vegas gets things close, or all, for the most part, as you know. I mean, I follow the over and under. I monitor that different games and the spread like you guys do. And so Vegas knows something. They run enough analysis out there that they're not going to just look at a name on a jersey. And that's the biggest thing that I know Coach Barnes will have them ready. They're not going to be in all of Duke. Mind you, Duke has earned what they've earned. When the selection Sunday occurred and I saw the second round against Duke, I was like, oh man, we're going to, Tennessee's going to play Duke. That's going to be a tough matchup. But the more detail and the more research I did on Duke as far as their statistical categories, George, they're very similar to UT as far as what they've done throughout the season, minus defensively. But when it comes to offense, when it comes to their field goal shooting, Duke's a much better free throw shooting team than Tennessee, but they've got a lot of similarities, especially in rebounding. They're both top 25 in the country, so a lot of similarities there.
Mark, help me to understand. For me, the biggest shake of my head and go, I don't get it, was A&M's complete no-show against a really underrated Penn State. They've got the incentive of they get Texas in the second round, who they hate, and, feel like Texas has been snubbing them for years. I just was totally shocked. What went on there?
I mean, it's a great point, and I'm not going to say they overlooked their opponent, because you can't. I mean, it's a 6-game tournament. You can't overlook anybody, but it was very interesting that Texas A&M's last 2 games have really underperformed, and to underperform like they did against Penn State was disappointing, because I'm sure most of America had them going up against Texas, and we weren't able to see that. And I hate to, put any blame anywhere, any particular players, but it was just disappointing overall. But on the flip side of that, you've got to give Texas A&M a lot of credit. I mean, this coach that was relatively unheard of before the season, and then what he's done at Penn State, that's, let's call it a football school. But then when you go back and look at one of their key players who I thought was one of the most underrated players in the SEC, and Wade Taylor, shoots 2 for 15 from the field and 1 from 10 from the three-point line. Well, that's not going to win you many games. And they shot close to 33% from the field against this really tough Penn State team. So maybe Penn State's going to have a good shot to move into the Sweet 16 if Pickett can keep playing like he is at his All-American level, and these guys are really bonding and improving like they have. I mean, we may be talking about Penn State more.
Mark, let's just go down the list of some of what's going on in the SEC. Auburn, on essentially a home court, beat Iowa. They're only a 5.5-point dog tomorrow against Houston. And let's be honest. If Sasser isn't anywhere close to 100%, and there's no reason to think he will be, Houston's not a 1 seed.
No, and that's going to be what I would call the pick of the day. I'm going to go ahead and say, George, that I'm going to pick Auburn to upset Houston, if you could say, because not just because they're playing in Birmingham. I think that's it's a huge advantage for the team, but I also think that Sasser is such an integral part of this Houston team, which if you haven't watched Houston, they're once again they're the best defensive team in the country. Now, they don't play in the greatest conference, but I've watched this team, and Coach Sampson has them playing so hard on defense. They're the toughest, most physical team I've seen this year. Sasser plays a big role offensively and defensively with this team. I think that Auburn can take advantage of them by going into Janai Broome. If Auburn will continually go inside and get consistent play from Wendell Green, I feel that Auburn will beat Houston tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I like it. You are going out on the limb, and you know who else is going out on that limb?
No.
I'll be with you. Check out Plaster Bet of the Day at 3:30.
Nice.
Okay, how does Arkansas, during the regular season, you get one game where you see it and then another game where you really don't see it and you don't know what they are. But all of a sudden you say NCAA tournament, and they turned up the Hogs yesterday. They were terrific against, I think, an overrated Illinois.
No doubt. And this is a great matchup. As you know, Arkansas will face Kansas. Arkansas's got 3 NBA players for next season. 2 in the first round, and with Anthony Black and also Nick Smith. Ricky Council's looking at going into the second round. And the reason I mention these NBA guys is just the talent level that's there. And if they can continue to play together, I think Arkansas's got a great shot to win this game also. And one of the key similarities for both teams is neither Kansas nor Arkansas are an inside-out team. They don't have a lot of inside presence. Kansas for sure does not. Arkansas with the Twins, you get some production, but both teams are mainly guard, forward-oriented teams that like to get up and down the court. I like Arkansas in this game, and I'm not trying to sound like an SEC homer, but I just really feel that Arkansas is coming together. And with Nick Smith being back from injury, he lost more than half of the season, I believe 19 games. They're just going to get stronger, and I think they're going to be up for the challenge against Kansas.
Mark, is it also possible that we have just totally undersold Missouri, and that they really are what they looked like against Tennessee a week ago and what they looked like yesterday against Utah State?
They did look good. Now, I think Princeton's going to provide them with a huge challenge because Missouri will get up and down the court. They're an up-tempo team, and they're going to face a Pete Carroll type team with the coach that played for him, that's from Kentucky. It's interesting to see how Missouri is able to adjust, because Princeton's going to slow the game down, and that's not Missouri style. It'll be interesting how the coaches go at each other with making adjustments throughout the game. If Kobe Brown can be consistent and get some help, I think it increases Missouri's chances to win. Is Princeton on a high now where they feel like, hey, we've done what we've thought we may not could do, and kind of revels in the excitement of yesterday and doesn't come back even keel and focused on Missouri? Let's hope that doesn't happen. But I'm concerned for Missouri against this Princeton team. I will share that with you.
Okay, you've gone strong so far today. You noticed I've left Kentucky out for.
I lost you. George?
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look. Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East, and their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303. Or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
We're on the second floor of the beautiful Fordyce Center in Bellevue, day 2 of the NCAA basketball tournament. Before we get Mark Griffin back to our microphones to talk a little Big Blue madness, let's get this scoreboard update.
Let's get
Billy
to it.
Derrick.
Let's get to it, George. We got some finals to get to. 3 finals to report. 7-seed Michigan State defeats 10-seed USC 72-62. That was the first game of the day. Xavier, 3-seed, beats 14-seeded Kennesaw State 72-67. Baylor hangs on to beat UCSB. That was a tight one there in the first half, but Baylor ends up beating UCSB 74-56. St. Mary's they're beating VC right now 41-36 in the second half of that one. About 11 minutes to play there. Marquette leads Vermont by 9, 39-30 at the half, and Pitt leads Iowa State early in that one 5-1. So there is your scoreboard update.
Have you noticed that one of your fellow Catholicism people,
I have,
Sean Henry, really upset with you?
Well, I'm upset with myself.
You didn't wear green. I mean, what is that about?
I take full blame, George. I woke up this morning and I'm like, man, I didn't even think about wearing green. And then I get in my car and I'm driving out here to the beautiful Fordyce Center, and I totally forgot.
I mean,
I was about to go to Sports Seasons to get something green to figure it out. But he's looking great. He's got the vest and everything. He's showing me up here.
Come on over here. This man expects better out of you. Look what he did.
He's just showing me up.
Get in the camera here. Okay, that shade of green, a lighter shade of green.
That's how you do it. And he's got the green socks as well.
Yeah, talk into this real quick. He's embarrassed by your lack of green.
He should be. I'm embarrassed for myself, George.
We're all embarrassed for you.
Father Ryan taught me better than this, to not wear green on St. Patrick's Day.
Now, let's get back to Mark Griffin, who rejoins us. Mark, tonight it's Kentucky and Providence. And all I know is this. What I heard walking out of Bridgestone last Friday night when Vandy beat Kentucky, the level of anger by the Kentucky fans shocked me. I mean, they sold Calipari down the river. So what happens if tonight, as a slight favorite, they don't beat Providence?
Doesn't look good for Big Blue. Big Blue Nation's going to be very upset. You can't come into the tournament opening round when you're Kentucky and lose to anybody, I don't believe, with that talent level year in and year out. I think it's been 1,100 days since Kentucky's won a first round of a NCAA tournament. Billy may have to look that up, but I know it's been a long time. And I tell you what, you can't overlook this Providence team. You got Bryce Hopkins that plays for Providence, as you know, the transfer from Kentucky. And if he can keep his head, he could do some damage against Kentucky because he's their leading scorer. And you've got a very underrated coach in Ed Cooley, whose name's going to be popping up for many jobs here soon. He's been to the postseason tournament with Providence 9 times out of 11 seasons, which I think is a great number for him to show the consistency that he's been able to build at that program. So I know he'll have his guys prepared. This is the game of the evening that I'm looking forward to because I want to see, kind of similar to watching a Tennessee team or even an Auburn team for that matter, which team shows up. Is it going to be one that's inspired, that plays with the extra effort defensively, that helps each other out, communicates well, knocks down shots on the floor? or is it going to be a team that's just going to, play a normal game and uninspired, no intensity? And if it is the latter, then Kentucky will go home early.
Mark, the Kentucky fan base is unlike any in college basketball. When things are going good, man, they're a lot of fun. And on the flip side, when things get a little rough, they can really be difficult to deal with. Now, human nature tells me Calipari knows this is going on. There's no way you can tune that out in the Commonwealth. What I want to know is, do you think there's any point in this where he says, I am weary of the pressure and I am weary of the constant harping?
I mean, it's a great debate. I don't know Coach Cal personally, but I have a feeling to coach at Kentucky, you've got to have some thick skin. And based on the interviews and him not afraid of any camera, I just don't think it gets to him, George. I really don't. I think that he has his agenda, and I know it's to coach up these players. He seems to have good relationships with the guys that have graduated, and especially gone on to the NBA. I just know that it's a tough position to be in, and people could say that's why he makes the money he does. Not everyone can do that. I think he can handle the pressure that he's under, because I feel he knew what he was going into when he took the job at Kentucky. I don't think, if you look at the talent level that they have, going back to talent level, that they've produced the way they should, because the Kentucky fans, rightfully so, expect to be in the Final Four year in and year out, and I can't blame them for that. And they're always going to expect that. And I think the SEC is better when Kentucky's good. Now, I don't mind when they get beat, but I think it's really good for SEC basketball, for Kentucky to fare well each season. I actually hope that they do win tonight. I'd like to see them move on to a further matchup. I'd love to see them play, I hope, Marquette, as far as my busted bracket. But I'd like to see him matched up with Shaka Smart to see how this would fare down the road. But as I'm sure y'all have talked about, George, everybody's bracket's busted now, and no one's safe with any seed. So it's just going to be a good time to sit back and have fun watching games.
Okay, let me try it this way. With Sasser now so questionable, with an injury that they tried to play last night and it bit them in the butt.
Yeah.
Is Alabama now up here and everybody else is a level below?
I definitely think so. If to me, if there was a shoe-in, which there's not, but if I was a betting man to say who has the best chance to make it to the, let's say, Final Four, Alabama's got the best road right now. And I'll take it even a step farther in the state of Tennessee, George. Don't look past Memphis against Purdue. With Kendrick Davis, who transferred from SMU, has had a tremendous season, averaging 22 points a game. Their big guy, DeAndre Williams, has had an excellent season as well. I think, and they've got great athletes. They will out-athlete you, playing against hopefully against a very sound Purdue team. And Edey, if I think there's ways they can double down Edey, which a lot of teams have figured out now, double down, make someone else beat you. I think Memphis has the athletes that they can double down, meaning a second player converges on Edey, make him uncomfortable to kick the ball out. And with the athletes, they're able to get back and maybe guard some of these open players and get up and down the floor against Purdue in a future matchup. I'm not putting it past Memphis. Obviously, if they get by the first round, to give Purdue trouble. So back to your question, George, I definitely think, looking at the teams that are in the bracket, Kansas with their battle with Arkansas and Houston with their battle with Auburn, that Alabama has the easiest trek to the Final Four.
So you brought up Memphis, and obviously both of us pay some attention to that program, you having grown up in Union City, Tennessee. What I saw last Sunday was way better than, an 8 or a 9 seed. Memphis looked like a team that's got a shot to take a huge leap and win some games here. You agree with that?
I definitely agree with it. And if they get past,
Mark, hold on a second.
Sure.
Sean Henry, who's over here, does not agree with us. And so God knows when Sean speaks, we all have to listen because he's the only undefeated person in these bets.
He's one of the 750, right? There's like 750 brackets apparently that are all correct so far is what I've read.
His is the only one in Nashville. Now that's according to him.
According to him.
Go back on Memphis.
No, I just think that they just have such great athletes, and you got to give Penny a lot of credit. I mean, he really supports his team. He's a very outspoken individual, but I think that he's got his players in mind. What would really be nice if everything works out the way that a lot of fans are hoping in the state of Tennessee would be, think about it, if Memphis played against Tennessee down the road. I'm trying to make sure they're in the same bracket, and they are. So in the East, in New York, I mean, wouldn't that be a game to see Memphis against UT going back to I was at this game where Memphis was supposed to play UT when Memphis, backed out the last minute. So you have a lot of Tennessee fans still remember that. Of course, they said it was all COVID related. And maybe I'm sure that there was some to that, but a lot of people made that trip to Bridgestone to watch a game, and now we can get to watch it this year. So that would be a great matchup that I would love to see.
By the way, if you had Iowa State today, they're down 16-2.
Pitt all over them early.
God, what is that?
That's the first 4 game, Mark. That can help a team sometimes.
You've got several teams, if you look at the history of first 4 teams, I think making it to the Sweet 16, I want to say there's 5 or 6 since that's come into play over the last several years. And help me out here. Didn't Vanderbilt beat Pitt this year?
They did beat Pitt. They beat Pitt at Memorial, and they also beat Mississippi State at Memorial as well.
And I was at the Sweatbox, a.k.a. Memorial Coliseum, or Memorial Gymnasium, when Memphis played Vanderbilt, and we were all sweating profusely with no air conditioning. If Vanderbilt would have won that game, think about the big picture of the whole season, and maybe Vanderbilt's playing an NCAA tournament. Just saying.
Okay, let's put you on the spot because you've been really, pretty out there so far today. Calling
I'm pretty out there, George.
Upset tomorrow.
I like that Arkansas upset pick over Kansas too.
Okay, let's try a couple more. Mark, Furman, San Diego State. San Diego State is a 5.5-point favorite.
I'm going to go San Diego State. I've watched them play several times this year. Now, Furman, unbelievable game plan and success. And I have to mention this local Hillsboro product, and I may butcher his name. Please forgive me. JP Pegues, I believe it goes.
Pegues, yeah, he went to Hillsboro High School.
He's the one, as you know, knocked down that last shot that's going to be played at the end of the season here with, the music that they play at the end. But he hit a shot heard around America, that's for sure. So, good on him. But I'm going to go with San Diego State against Furman. I just think that they're a tougher team. I'm going to look at their total body of work versus Furman. But I tell you what, it wouldn't hurt me at all to see Furman go ahead and win that game. And if that's the case, I think you're gonna get a lot of phone calls to the head coach for a future opportunity at a bigger school, because he's done a heck of a job.
Mark, I want to thank you for taking the time to come out with us. Sean Henry, who now is directing the show, says I've got to go to a break. So I wanted you to know that. But I thank you for taking the time to come on with us today. Let's see how it all plays out.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, guys.
That's former University of Tennessee star Mark Griffin joining us. After the break, we'll have Stat of the Day. Then Coach Herm Edwards with his weekly Friday afternoon visit from the beautiful Ford Ice Center and the restaurant on the second floor called Draft Picks. And by the way, if you haven't been here, great TV setup. They've got 9 of them, so you can see every game on here, and the food is terrific.
Yeah, they got some St. Patrick's Day specials. Jameson Irish Cooler for $11. Reuben sandwich with kettle chips and Irish cheesecake. So pretty good stuff today.
These are good people out here. They have really taken care of us. We'll go to the break, Stat of the Day, and then Coach Herm next.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? How?
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
This is my buddy and former Nashville Sounds PA announcer Eric Berner. I always laughed in the old days at Greer Stadium when I would walk in, Eric would immediately play my favorite song, Van Halen's Jump. But then I learned he actually has a real job with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors.
Yeah, George, that's what I do. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. Everybody's situation is different, so I use a customized and individualized, personalized approach to the person I'm working with. Old 401ks, retirement planning, insurance planning, inheritance planning. Those are things that people like to get some more information about.
One of the things I find is people don't even know where to start, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, so I can usually help people with an initial phone call or meeting that is a no charge and no obligation.
And I'll bet you have a phone number and a website.
I do, George. They can call me at 615-235-1058 or rockcastlewealth.com or Eric at rockcastlewealth.com.
Welcome to John English Antique Sports and Cards, located at 204 East Depot Street in beautiful downtown Shelbyville, Tennessee. Their phone number is area code 931-492-4304. John, obviously, I've been blown away by what I've seen at your place. I've now been there 3 times. But for the person who's never been, what should they expect?
Well, we have a 3,000 square foot store, George. Half of it is vintage cards in all sports, and then half of the store is, a lot of people call it the museum, where there's a lot of early equipment and just the history of sports in general: baseball, football, basketball, golf, tennis, and other items.
When somebody comes in there that you know is a big sports fan, what is their normal reaction?
Well, I think that they're pleasantly surprised, and of course, being in Shelbyville, Tennessee, which is a small town that you would never expect a shop like we have to be in. So they're kind of, I don't want to say blown away, but as I said, pleasantly surprised.
Welcome back into the George Plaster Show. Final segment of this first hour. Herm Edwards coming up to talk a little NFL free agency, everything going on with Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson. A lot to get to with Herm. But first, stat of the day brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville. All right, let's see what David's got cooked up for us today. There has been only one team in NCAA tournament history to make consecutive Final Fours while not being a number 1 or number 2 seed. Can you name the school to accomplish this feat?
Oh, my God. Oh, holy cow. There has been only one team to make consecutive Final Fours while not being a 1 or a 2. You know, I'm going to go out on a limb. I have no idea what the answer is. This is a great question, and I haven't got a clue what it is.
Would you like a hint?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to matter.
Okay. This team went on a magical run in 2010 and 2011 and made their Final Fours. Several last-second shots to help get them to the Final Four and eventually a national championship game in both years.
Is that UConn?
No.
Is it Kentucky?
No.
No. Got a lot of no's. Well, then, you know what? Who the heck is it?
Butler.
Butler, the Butler Bulldogs.
Yes.
Gordon Hayward.
Yes, and you know, they came within an eyelash. If you remember, Gordon Hayward missed basically a half-court shot.
Would have been a shot for the ages.
Yeah, that would have beaten Duke.
Yep.
In that championship final. Wow.
And then they lost to
question.
UConn,
I
right?
think it was the next year, and that was also the national championship game, correct?
Yeah, Butler, they deserved better than
that was Brad Stevens' kind of coaching job that got him on the map and eventually got him the job with the Celtics.
At Butler. Man, phenomenal what he was able to do there.
So how would you like to be invited to get an at-large berth in the NCAA tournament and open up down 19-2?
Boy, a lot of people were talking about Iowa State as, you know, not a good matchup against Pitt or even Mississippi State. You know, if Mississippi State would have won that game. But you're looking at this game right now, and, boy, Pitt is dominating Iowa State. I mean, Iowa State doesn't look like they deserve to be on the same floor.
And the thing is, I didn't think Pitt looked that great the other day against Mississippi State. That was kind of an ugly basketball game, a lot of missed shots.
Yeah.
State looked even worse.
Credit to Jeff Capel and that Pitt Panther team coming out with some energy. You know, Mark mentioned it. Is there an advantage of playing in the first 4 game, getting that nerve and that rust out of the way? You know, Iowa State hasn't played in a week, whereas you just played earlier this week, got the jitters out. You're not expected to win this game. So credit to Pitt early on.
Yeah.
You know, there have been some first 4 teams that have ended up in Dayton that have gone on to prove that theory correct, that, you know, playing on Tuesday or Wednesday is good for them. I know we're stalling around here for a moment. We were in contact with Coach Herm Edwards a few minutes ago, so I feel pretty confident that he's going to be on with us, but maybe having trouble getting the link. So, Billy, while you're working on that, you want me to do the scoreboard update?
That'd be great. We got David over here,
I
too.
got you, George. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
So, Pitt is up 20-2 midway through the first half.
20-2.
In the Midwest Regional.
Nice.
Okay. St. Mary's is up by 7, 55-47 late in the second half against VCU. That one's on TBS. Marquette's leading Vermont 43-36 early in the second half. And Creighton and NC State are underway. Creighton with a 7-2 advantage over NC State early in the first half. Those are your games going on right now in March Madness.
Earlier today, Baylor, with a very strong second half, blew out Cal Santa Barbara 74-56. And Michigan State got by Southern Cal 72-62. By the way, that Kennesaw State game saw Kennesaw State up double digits early in the second half, and they could not close the deal. Belmont transfer Adam Kunkel had a big 3 with about 3 minutes left that gave Xavier the lead for the first time since very early in the first half. That is the dictionary definition, David, of survive and advance.
That's a game that Kennesaw State probably should have won. That long scoring drought right smack dab in the middle of the second half was that true difference in the game. Xavier goes on a 13-0 run to get back in the game and eventually take the lead. But it was back and forth in that last 5-minute stretch where a couple calls here or there, and Kennesaw State pulls off another upset early this weekend in March Madness.
My little theory about Kennesaw State is this, and I've had it for a long time. Kennesaw State, if you're familiar at all with Atlanta, it is 10 miles north of Truist Park where the Braves play. It's mile marker 271. I've always thought that Kennesaw State should be able to essentially take the Atlanta AAU leftovers and make a really good program on the ASUN level, Sun Belt, whatever conference they're in at the moment. And David, it appears that finally they may have done that.
There's a lot of talent in that Atlanta area, regardless of the sports, George. Football, baseball, basketball. There's talent all over suburban Atlanta. And they put a good run. The ASUN champs, like I said, probably should have won that basketball game. Really dominated early on in that second half, able to extend the lead, but just not being able to close out against a veteran team with Sean Miller as a head coach. Sean Miller does a great job anywhere he goes. Remember, old coach at Arizona. So he's a good head coach, and Xavier moves on.
Yeah, it's never been his coaching that's been in question.
Yeah, there we go.
There are some other things.
Yeah, we're officially halfway through that first half with Pitt and Iowa, and Iowa has yet to make a field goal.
Nice. 20-2?
It's not, they just made it, so we jinxed them, 22-4.
Okay, the games tonight go like this. And in fact, I see Herm Edwards, so we're close to getting him on. At 5:50, Purdue and Fairleigh Dickinson, Kentucky Providence at 6:10. Miami against Drake at 6:25. At 6:35, Gonzaga Grand Canyon. Memphis FAU at 8:20. Kansas State Montana State at 8:40. Indiana Kent State at 8:55. And TCU and Arizona State tonight at 9:05. Billy, you think we're ready to do this?
We got him.
Okay. Let's say hello to the one and only, the great Herm Edwards, joining us from out on the West Coast. Herm, how are you?
I am well. March Madness, we've already got somebody that got bounced out, I guess. Huh? Arizona lost. That's like, wow. That was interesting, huh? I mean, they were the number one seed, weren't they?
Yeah, Princeton got them. So as a football guy, do you pay attention to March Madness?
I do a little bit. I was a basketball guy as well, and it's just interesting how they have these brackets. I think it's very difficult, obviously in college basketball, with the tournaments, and you see it every year. You see some favorites that are supposed to be the ones, and all of a sudden some team beats them, and then all those games they won are just, you're over. It's just done.
So when we get the football playoff to 12, do you think it'll have this kind of level of excitement for a few days?
Oh, no, there'd be no doubt. I thought they should take it to 16, to be quite honest. Get more, and the more the merrier. I just think, the people that follow the March Madness, which I thought was a great way to collectively bring people together that didn't even watch a lot of basketball. Just the pooling of it all and betting that goes on within the offices and all that kind of stuff, right? Is very interesting. And now you're talking about football. That's going to be outstanding, I think, when you add all these college teams to the playoffs. As I said, the NFL added more playoff teams, 14 now, and there's only 32 teams. So college football needed to add some playoff teams.
So, Herm, we've almost overdosed on Aaron Rodgers' reaction to his deal on McAfee's show. But yours is always an interesting take and oftentimes different than where a lot of the talking heads are going. So give me some of your thoughts on what you heard earlier this week from him.
Well, I thought this. I thought all along, as these quarterbacks started going off the board, Jimmy Garoppolo, Carr, who have you, Geno Smith ended up signing back. Hopefully Lamar ends up going back to the Ravens, that Aaron Rodgers was headed to New York. I think it's a good get for them. When you think about their team, they needed a quarterback. he's a guy that still has something left in the tank. I think with all the noise outside of the building right now, he says he goes into the dark room, but he has people in the dark room that are giving him information. And he's that kind of guy. He likes this attention he's getting. I think he'll use it to fuel himself. This is an upgrade for them when you think about the quarterback position. Look, Aaron Rodgers in a bad year is going to throw anywhere between 28 and 30 touchdowns. So if you just do the math, that's 2 touchdowns a game. That's 14 points. If your kicker can make 2 kicks, that's 20 points. You score 24 points in the league, you're going to win a lot of games. Their defense is only giving up about 17 points a game. So they're going to be a better football team by adding Aaron Rodgers. You're hoping he can bring them together. And that's what everybody's kind of wondering. Is he going to get into this mode, what he did last year? People out of Green Bay are saying he came into camp, wasn't in shape, whatever. That's what they're saying. But I think he has something to prove. He's going to the AFC, which is interesting. A lot of really good quarterbacks in the AFC. And the AFC East, there's some good quarterbacks there.
Herm, are they good enough now where you can see them passing Buffalo?
I'm not going to say that yet. Buffalo, they lost their coordinator. They lost a few players. But they're the team, as well as the Miami Dolphins. If Tua can stay healthy, Tua is going to be, they're going to play good. They're going to score points. New England now has an offensive coordinator. The Jets haven't beaten New England, I think, in 12 straight games. So they're in a division that's going to be very competitive. But now at least they have a quarterback that can score points. And I hope he's successful, to be quite honest. I mean, I'm one of those guys that when it comes to football players, I want them to be successful. I do, because I think it's good for football. And I think when you play quarterback, you want good quarterback play. It makes the game better.
Okay, he's coming into a situation that you've been in as the focal point of the Jets. If you were to give him a piece of advice of how to make this work in a difficult market, what would it be?
Shoot him straight. Talk to him straight. When it's on you, it's on you. And generally, this is how it works in pro football. It's the head coach and the quarterback. They got to be on the same page. They have to talk the same language when they go in to deal with the press. You can't be on opposite sides. You can't have mixed messages, because that's what they look for. They want to try to get a divide. Well, the head coach is saying this, but you're saying that. You got to be on the same page. That's why, for me, it was very important. Anytime that we left the field after the game was over, win, lose, or draw, I always found a quarterback, and we would walk in the tunnel together, because I'm going to be the first guy up after they come out of the locker room. And I always wanted the quarterback to know, this is what I'm thinking. This is how the game went. If we won or lost, not giving him things to say, but understanding what I was going to say. That's very important, because we got to be on the same page.
Herm, we've got now one quarterback of real note left to discuss, and that's Lamar Jackson. And God knows we've gone through a ton of scenarios there. Do you think a team is going to emerge that gives him something to take back to the Ravens and say, here you go, these people are serious?
I was hoping that, but where is that team all of a sudden? This thing has gone silent. And I think when you look at it, the Ravens played it right. They said, you go out on the open market, let somebody else negotiate a contract, which a lot of teams don't want to do, knowing that if we do negotiate a contract with Lamar, they have the ability to match it. So with that being said, a lot of teams are they set back from this and going, we're not involved, because when you think about it, who else is left? I mean, all the quarterbacks are gone. Aaron's going, look, unless Aaron decides to retire again, he goes into a dark cave tomorrow and decides to retire over the weekend. I mean, most of the teams are set for the most part. So I'm hoping Lamar goes back to the Ravens. I'm hoping they can figure this thing out. I'm hoping he's not going to be a guy that on principle, is going to sit out. Because look, this is what the players want. All the players are pulling for Lamar to get a fully guaranteed contract. right? The owners don't want full guaranteed contracts. They've never wanted that. They don't want this to become the NBA. They just don't. And when you think about these owners, Cleveland kind of was the outlier. They kind of went on their own with a new owner. But the history of this league, when I entered the league in 1977 as a rookie, the one thing that I was told by a lot of veterans, you'll never get a full guaranteed contract. They don't do that in the NFL. And that has pretty much been their walking orders and the pace that owners have always, not let happen. And Cleveland kind of went outside the box. And all of a sudden, Lamar's trying to get that. And there's a lot of players that are really hoping Lamar gets it so they can walk in. Can you think of all the other quarterbacks that are going to line up if Lamar gets a fully guaranteed contract and going to ask for fully guaranteed contracts?
Oh, it's an opening of Pandora's box. So,
yeah.
Herm, let me try it this way. Watson Brown and I both believe that this Lamar Jackson case could end up in court before it's over, collusion, whatever you want to call it. Do you think it could get to that?
I don't. I really don't, because it's an open market. Any team has the ability to bid on Lamar right now or do a contract, and no one is selected to do that. And you say, why? We're all sitting here trying to figure out why. Why is that, right? And so there's some in the back of all of our minds is, well, they're together doing this. Well, you're going to have to prove that, right? I don't know how you prove that. We all feel like that's what's happening to Lamar because of the fact that, they don't want this to become the norm, that all of a sudden players start walking in, the star players, and saying, hey, look, I want a full guaranteed contract. It'll be interesting when Burrows and Josh Allen and these guys, my guy in Philly, Hurts, they come in there. Aaron Rodgers signed a new contract a couple years ago. It wasn't fully guaranteed, right? That was Aaron Rodgers. So it's kind of interesting where it's at right now.
I want to throw one more at you, Herm, and get your opinion on this. The Cowboys released Ezekiel Elliott earlier this week, and there was a day in time where in the first 2 or 3 years of his career, he was an absolute battering ram. And all of a sudden, the drop-off in him was incredibly noticeable. Did Dallas simply overwork him early, and this is the result of what ended up happening?
Well, I'm not going to say they overworked him. He wanted the ball. He was their best player, and this is the livelihood of a running back. Think of the guy you have in Tennessee right now, right? I mean, they were talking about, there was rumors about trading him. They have about a 5-year window, a lot of these guys, according to how much you run them. If you give this guy the ball, average of 30 times a game, just do the math. It wears guys down. And this is why you don't see a lot of running backs in today's world going in the first round. Now, there might be 1 or 2 at the most this year, but they wear down. And look, Derrick Henry's a big, powerful man. And right now, when Tennessee's talking about, well, hey, he might be up for trade. I mean, it's just, that's the livelihood of a back. And I said it when the season was over with. When I watched him play this year, he wasn't the same guy. They used him in the red zone. He scored 12 touchdowns, but a lot of his, scores were inside the 10-yard line. When Pollard got hurt and he actually played, he didn't even look like the same guy, right? Those hits catch up to you in the NFL. They truly do.
Herm, how has it not caught up to Derrick Henry? That amazes me because you and I both know I've been down on an NFL sideline enough during a game that it's an organized train wreck. Yeah. And I understand why these running backs have such a short shelf life. How has Henry beaten that rap?
He's a unique player, and they come along every once in a while. You see them. Some of these guys have 10-year runs. That's not normal. But he's a big man. He runs behind his pads. Look, you got to make a business decision to tackle him too, right? As a defender, when he comes through the line of scrimmage and he gets back at the back end of your defense. I mean, them DBs, they want to cover. They don't want to hit a 250-pound locomotive. I mean, that's not a whole lot of fun, right? And so Guys make business decisions, but I just think the way he's kept his body, he's unique. And you see some guys like that, right? That have a 10-year run. Not many. I mean, John Riggins was a guy that played for a long time, right? When I came in the league, here again, Earl Campbell. You saw the decline in Earl Campbell, how big he was, and so there's unique guys that come along every once in a while. Gore. How about Gore that played all those years with the San Francisco 49ers, left and then played somewhere else? There's always an exception to the rule, but the rule generally is if you get 5 to 7 years with a running back, that's a long time.
Okay, when are you back on the worldwide leader?
I'm back on the worldwide leader at the end of the month. I was there for a whole week last week, so I go back at the end of the month. I'm actually going to do it from the house, which is good. So my April schedule has not come out yet, so I have to wait to see what my April schedule is going to look like. So it'll be good. The draft coming up, obviously, right? The draft and free agency. Free agency's been very interesting. It really has. Some of the moves that a lot of people have made. The Bears got out of that first pick and really acquired a lot of capital. It'll be interesting to watch the Bears draft. They did some things in free agency already. They're going to improve their football team.
You think they got enough?
I think they'll have enough if they draft well, because they've got some picks now and they feel like they've got their quarterback. They got to, really shore up the trenches, offensive line. They're going to get some defensive linemen, get a couple receivers, and they're going to be a better football team.
Hey, thank you for doing this. I screwed up earlier today. I forgot to send you the text, and your phone call reminded me, so I'm a day late and $1 short.
That's all right. We still made it happen. Billy made it happen. I was messing around. He got my wife squared away so we could get back on your set, because I like being on your set, obviously, and it's good seeing you guys and the good folks down there. And now it's March Madness. It's interesting to see what happens.
Although, Herm, let's be honest, I look better on radio.
Well, like they say, some people have faces for radio, some people have faces for television. Just got to know what face.
I love it.
Herm, you take care.
All right, buddy. Talk to you later. Thank you.
Is the great Herm Edwards, and we are so proud and thrilled to have him on each and every Friday on the show. After the break, we're going to find out a little bit more about this beautiful Ford Ice Center here in Bellevue that is a tremendous facility. Joel Butcher from the staff here at Ford Ice Center will join us, and we will do that next. Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from, and for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5685. I know it's getting colder. You're not thinking about golf. However, if you're planning an event for next year, let me suggest golf through Riverside Golf Links. The course has improved dramatically. It's perfect for hosting a corporate or a charitable outing. They've got everything in place to make your event a rousing success. To get more info, call 615-847-5074 or go online to riversidegolflinks.com.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets. And we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
Welcome back to the George Plaster Show alongside Joel Butcher, the director here at the Fordyce Center. George usually claims that nickname here when he's cracking jokes with me. So the director of Fordyce Center, Joel Butcher, joins us here today as we sort of close out the last couple days here at the Fordyce Center. First off, I thank you so much, and you and your staff for allowing us to come in here and watch some March Madness and enjoy all these little kids running around today for their tournament and event. So I thank you guys so much for doing this.
Oh, absolutely. We here at Fordyce, we thank George Plaster Show and you guys. Very excited to have you on board and here at Draft Picks in Bellevue and just Fordyce in general. It's going to be a great opportunity for everybody, for the show, for Fordyce. And we're excited to have you guys. And it's a great weekend. Like I feel like the luckiest person in the world, and what better day than St. Patrick's Day, right?
Oh, I know. There's no better day. It's all combining together. So, Joel, I want to talk about a lot here in this segment, but I want to start with you. You're a Nashville guy. You've grown up in the area, the surrounding area. Of course, you were at Clarksville, of course, but talk about the growth of the sport of hockey in specifically the Nashville area. Obviously you've been around the Preds, but you're fairly new with the Fordyce and the Preds organization. So I guess taking away how new you are to the organization as a sport of hockey, talk about the growth that you've seen in the last 15, 20 years.
Yeah, before I am new here with the Nashville Predators and Fordyce organization. I started in November. From a total different field. It wasn't sports. It was operations management and engineering. And I had an opportunity to join a team that's not only good on ice, but I think it's a team that's just as good off ice. And that's one of the things that I was very impressed with the Nashville Predators and the organization and Fordyce. And it has grown. I remember a time when somebody said ice, they ran to the store. So, the hockey is very new here in the city, but when you go to watch a Predators game, you wouldn't know that now, right? Mm-hmm. It's because the things they do on the ice, the things they do off of the ice, and Fordyce played a big part of that in the very beginning. They kind of were the community spear, sort of speak, to get people on board and teach them the game of hockey and teach them about ice. And we've kind of transitioned, I think, over the years. And from what I've talked to people and from what I see now, we're not only continuing to grow the sport of hockey in the Nashville and South region, but we're cultivating hockey players, as you see here today. So these are kids that are 8U, 14U, 16U.
Start them young.
Yeah, they're kids from all over the U.S., actually, in this tournament, the Country and Western tournament. We host about 30 to 35 large tournaments a year. Some of them we put on in-house. But if you go out and you look here at the rinks, it's not just about hockey. It's about kids that are wanting to grow into the sport. So now we're cultivating them. We're giving them the platform to be able to grow their trade and their craft. And it's kids that are trying to get into collegiate. And then from collegiate, kids that are wanting to go into the NHL. So we're providing that platform, but we also, a big part of Fordyce Center is figure skating. We have the Scott Hamilton program here. And so we have figure skaters. We have open hockey, open stick. And if you're not a figure skater and you're not into hockey and you just like to ice skate, we do public skates every day. And we've got a big one tonight. It's the Preds Pot of Gold skate.
There we go.
And so we've got almost 300 people coming to that tonight. And so we'll have some Irish pub music and we'll have green lights in the rink. It's going to be a great time. But it's great that you guys were a part of it this weekend with the basketball games. And so it's a very exciting time with Fordyce.
No doubt. You talked about we were talking earlier before we got on, and you talked about the importance of having a center like this within an organization, but not just an organization, but within a community, and sort of cultivating not just hockey players, but figure skaters, female hockey players, people that just want to come have fun and cheer on the Preds or watch some March Madness. I keep realizing the community aspect of it is almost just as important as trying to grow the game of hockey itself.
It is. And, we like to think of ourselves as an extension of an NHL franchise, but we operate with that community Southern feel.
Yeah.
We like to implant into the community, but we are the gold standard in ice rinks in the NHL as far as what the community and people are able to see. And I had a gentleman stop me today, and he was blown away seeing that, this is where his kid's getting to play his tournament.
Yeah.
It's not like it. So we have people from all 50 states, about 9 countries. In a couple of weeks, we're going to have our World Select Tournament. And these are really great kids from Finland and all over the world that are coming in here to play hockey in our facility. And we actually have 2 more ice rinks in our Antioch Fordyce facility, which is about, 15 miles south of here in the old Hickory Hollow Mall, if anybody's familiar with that area. So, and we also have not a community rink, but we have a ice rink in Clarksville as well. So we're expanding, we're growing, we continue the efforts, and we have a great fan development team, a great kids club. I think Kristen was on the show yesterday, and she's a fabulous hockey director with a long bloodline of the NHL in her family as well. So we're very excited about it. I'm blessed to have this opportunity and take my organizational management from the 30 years and kind of apply it into a sports world. So it's very exciting.
We were talking a lot yesterday about the quality of everyone that works here. It screams Nashville Predators quality, because we all know the quality of a franchise the Predators are. Talk about that little trickle-down process of are the Preds communicating with you guys on a daily, weekly basis, kind of organizing things and saying, hey, here's how we want you guys to act, here's how we want you guys to interact with the community? How does that sort of trickle down to you guys? Or is that more of an initiation process of you guys saying, no, we want to present ourselves with quality?
We want to present ourselves, but we want to represent the Nashville Predators in the NHL. And even though we're a few miles from Bridgestone, it's just a small extension, right? Mm-hmm. So it's really, we are Bridgestone, we are the Nashville Predators, just under the Fordyce umbrella. Everything we do, from our customer service to our backdrops and everything that we do from a marketing standpoint, we make sure that we don't hurt the brand. We represent the brand, and we do it as a family. I love my staff here at Fordyce. It's a younger group of kids, but I'm kind of the old guy here, but I couldn't ask for anything else. And again, especially on St. Patrick's Day, I kind of feel like the luckiest person in the industry, but it's exciting. We've got a lot of things to do. It's like any other business. We've got to continue improving. After this show, after this event, we're going to sit down, and we always do our lessons learned and how can we do it better next year. But that's what it's about as far as even on the ice. After a game, which was a tough loss last night, but, we're still in it. We got a group of scrappy young guys out there on the ice, but, still they go back and they look at what happened last night and they try to get better, and that's what we try to do here at Fordyce.
I love it. I asked Kristen yesterday, for anybody that has questions but may not know where to go, about the Fordyce Center, or where does somebody start? What would you tell somebody who may not know if they're interested in hockey, but where would you give them a start for the Fordyce Center? Here's a community skate we've got tonight. Come check us out. Or, where would somebody start that maybe is a little hesitant about maybe starting hockey?
Yeah, exactly. I heard Kristen, and the easiest and the best answer is just in the world we live today on social media and going to FordyceCenters.com or looking at the link on the Nashville Predators, just to kind of see all the things that we have, but you can't beat that human interaction. So I would suggest anybody come out here to Bellevue Fordyce or the Antioch Fordyce and talk to our staff. They're all educated on the programs that we do here. If you have, it's interesting. One of the things that I love is we have a program called Goal. It's called Get Out and Learn, and it teaches kids from 3 to 7 on how to play hockey, and it's free. And, you can't get that anywhere else.
Yeah.
And it's part of the NHL program and the Nashville Predators. And so it's amazing. I love doing it. It's my favorite thing here on Mondays when we do our Goal, to see some of the kids out there. And some of them are kind of the first week they lay on ice and they kind of contemplate life and wonder why my parents here. But by week 6, every kid's shooting pucks, and it's amazing. We have the best coaches in the world out there working with these kids. And then after that, they can progress into little preds and predecessors. And we have programs from the age 3 all the way up to 73 to 83. We have an old notes program. These guys that you have to be 65 to even play. And so I walked in my first day and I saw these guys out there, and they were skating hard and they were bumping and they were shooting. And I was like, oh, who that is? And they got off the ice and they were like older than me. And I'm like, it's amazing. So it doesn't matter what your age. We are in a great organization that embraces women in sports. Our hockey director is she's fabulous as far as the hockey world. Again, I think she came from a couple other Tampa Bay Lightning. So her family is huge into hockey. And so we have a lot of female coaches that are amazing, and they're taking us in the right direction. So it's great. It's one of the reasons why I came here, because they embrace women in sports. They embrace teaching kids at free programs. And then there's places where if I can learn to skate, it's one of my goals is to learn. I can't ice skate. I know it's kind of ironic, but I have a group of people that said they can get me to skate. So
there you go.
At least,
that's a start.
At least when I'm 70, I know I can skate with the old notes, right?
There you go. From 3 to 73. That's incredible.
Exactly.
I mean, I was looking at
even older than 73. But yeah, there's some of the guys there's one guy that's 70 and he's amazing. I can't keep up with him.
That's crazy. It's crazy looking out the windows here. Some of the kids, how small they are, but they're just as good as some of the, the kids a few years older than them because of how hard they work. The parents' dedication is another thing too that takes a lot. So that's what's so special. 3 to 73 and even older than 73 at this place.
Yeah, the sport of hockey is in a great place here in Nashville and Middle Tennessee and even across the country. And programs like Fordyce, it wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the Predators and the NHL helping guide that. And so a lot of teams are envious of the way we do things at Fordyce, and that excites us. But it's all about collaborating. And again, the future's bright, and I'm excited that the George Plaster Show, you guys are going to be a part of it. And it's going to be a great development that I'm excited for.
Oh, we are so excited, and we thank you guys for giving us the opportunity with the nice setup here, the backdrop and everything. The marketing is phenomenal. So we love that. And of course we're going to try to, promote you guys as best as possible. So
sounds great.
Same thing from you guys. So Joel, I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah. Welcome to the family.
I love it.
Yeah,
thank you.
Absolutely.
That's Joel Butcher, the director of the Fordyce Center here. We had the hockey director. Now we got the director here on the George Plaster Show. Joel taking the time with us today. We'll take a break. We got Plaster's Bets of the Weekend coming up here on the George Plaster Show. Stay tuned.
Hey, thank you for meeting with me today. The insurance company has made an offer.
Already? Wow.
They've offered you the entire policy.
Thank you, Blair.
You're so welcome.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to donleytimmons.com.
This is my buddy and former Nashville Sounds PA announcer Eric Berner. I always laughed in the old days at Greer Stadium when I would walk in, Eric would immediately play my favorite song, Van Halen's Jump. But then I learned he actually has a real job with Rockcastle Wealth Advisors.
Yeah, George, that's what I do. I help people in the pursuit of making their money live as long as they do. Everybody's situation is different, so I use a customized and individualized, personalized approach to the person I'm working with. Old 401ks, retirement planning, insurance planning, inheritance planning. Those are things that people like to get some more information about.
One of the things I find is people don't even know where to start, and that's where you come in.
Yeah, so I can usually help people with an initial phone call or meeting that is a no charge and no obligation.
And I'll bet you have a phone number and a website.
I do, George. They can call me at 615-235-1058 or rockcastlewealth.com or Eric at rockcastlewealth.com.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
Jody Jones has as nice a dental facility as you'll find anywhere. Let's go in and take a look. Are you in the market for a new dentist? Maybe you're new to Nashville? Well, the place to go is Jody Jones Dentistry at 55 Music Square East, and their new facility is absolutely state-of-the-art. Jody mixes quality with comfort for the perfect dental experience. He's trusted for his creative design and committed to both the function and aesthetics of your smile. Jody is simply the total package. Don't wait. Make an appointment now at 615-259-5100.
Welcome back in. Final segment from Fordyce Center here in Bellevue. We've got March Madness rolling along. We'll talk more about some of the scores going on right now. But first, Plaster's Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. They are lawyers you can trust. Give them a call at 615-242-9000 or log on to bartdurham.com. I said Bet of the Day. It's actually Bets of the Weekend for Plaz. So, George, what do we got coming up? I know you got some today and some tomorrow.
Yeah.
But we got a review first.
Yeah,
what am
absolutely.
I doing? We got a review. So yesterday, you had Missouri. They won. They beat Utah State. You had Iowa.
Yeah.
Iowa didn't play terribly, but Auburn was just better, it looked like.
Yeah. And they used, I'm sure, the home court advantage.
It did look
best.
like that played a big part in it.
Yeah. If
And
I'm
then-
Iowa, I'm not very happy about that.
No, and Houston might not be very happy about it tomorrow.
No.
Looking ahead. Boise lost You had Boise to cover against Northwestern.
Yeah,
Credit to Northwestern.
I had a lot of people warn me. Northwestern's pretty darn good. Chris Collins has done a terrific job.
He really has. They've got a couple good post players that really dominated that Boise State front line. And then Michigan State, you won that one. That was fairly easy today by 10.
Tom Izzo.
Izzo in March.
Yeah.
You can't bet against him. And you didn't. So let's figure out where you're going today and tomorrow. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plays.
Yeah. And what I've tried to do is put a couple of tonight's games out there, and then with the early lines that are out for tomorrow, give you 2 or 3 of those, and you all can scoff at them, laugh at them, whatever.
We're going chronological order. So we're starting with Memphis and Florida Atlantic tonight.
Okay. I think that this seems to be a year where teams that are really playing well toward the end of the season, Memphis, Penn State, Marquette, Duke is the poster child.
Yeah.
These teams seem to be able this year to carry it over. I don't know why, don't know what the theory is, but I think Memphis is too athletic for FAU.
So Memphis -2 against FAU, and we roll into tomorrow in the NIT, Vanderbilt and Michigan.
Yeah, I would have made this line 2.5 to 3. I think that the Michigan name is being overblown just a little bit. Vandy's a better team than Michigan. Now, Michigan has a really good center in Hunter Dickinson, and I would love to have seen 2 weeks ago a matchup of Hunter Dickinson and Liam Robbins. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen, but the game's at Memorial Gym. I think Vandy just simply wins.
And then they'll probably win the whole thing because there's not a whole lot of competition left, although some of these upset bid teams might end up winning.
If they were to win tomorrow, it's either UAB or Moorhead here early next week.
How about who would have ever thought you'd be playing maybe UAB or Moorhead at
for
Memorial?
A chance to go to Vegas.
Oh, how the NIT has changed. All right, Duke and Tennessee tomorrow at 1:40. It's a standalone game on CBS leading in to Kansas, Arkansas. So big day tomorrow, Duke or Tennessee.
I'm going with Duke. I think right now they are on a tremendous roll, and I don't think Tennessee is even close to a roll. They're really struggling in the half court. They're going to have to get some three-point shooting from people like Vescovy to sort of bridge that gap a little bit, and I just don't think it's going to be enough.
I agree. I just, looking at the matchup, it feels like a nightmare matchup for Tennessee.
It's going to be tough.
They almost lost last night.
I'll say this. If they win that game, look out.
Because they're headed to Madison Square Garden.
That is where they're going.
Yeah.
You're right.
All right, George, let's go to Kansas and Arkansas. 4:15 tip-off tomorrow.
I'm going against Mark. I just have not been that impressed with Arkansas throughout the year. You get one really good performance, then you get one that you question. Now, I guess we still don't know whether Bill Self is coaching tomorrow.
We don't know.
Does that make a difference? Perhaps somewhat. I just think Kansas is a better team, and I'm going with them.
All right, last one, Auburn and Houston tomorrow in Birmingham, a.k.a. Neville Arena.
Okay, first of all, the old Birmingham Jefferson County Civic Center, I guess, has a name, doesn't it?
Legacy Arena.
Good for them.
It's beautiful.
So, yeah, they've redone it. It looks very nice. Houston without Sasser, and I'm assuming that's going to be the case. They're not anywhere near a 1 seed. Northern Kentucky sort of showed them that. It'll come down to Auburn making some shots. Janai Broome needs to have a strong 15-point-plus day to open up the outside shooting. The home court is going to be huge. Auburn is going to cover. I'm not saying they're going to win, but I think they're going to be damn close.
With Sasser being out, that's what you think of.
It's just not the same team.
It's not. And you know, you look at yesterday's matchup with Northern Kentucky, Darren Horton and that club, almost found a way to win that game.
I thought Darren's team, and I'm biased, was really well prepared yesterday. Then they got the break with Sasser getting hurt, and I think as it went along, they got more and more excited about their chances. They played very well.
Yeah, so credit to them. Again, they're 16 seed. It's always tough, but it didn't look as tough as a lot of people thought it was maybe going to be for Northern Kentucky. But again, Houston, I like this pick, George. I like Auburn plus that 5.5.
That place will be rocking.
Oh, yeah. And Alabama and Maryland as well.
I didn't take it. I think Alabama covers. The early line is 8.5. But I don't know. Kevin Willard, this Maryland bunch is pretty good. They hung tough. They survived and advanced. And that is what March is all about. We saw it earlier today with the Kennesaw State game. They were the better team, but Iowa found – not Iowa.
Xavier.
Why did I say Iowa? Xavier found what they needed late. They simply survived and advanced. And it'll be interesting now if Xavier can take advantage of maybe not being the better team today, but ultimately winning.
It'll be fun. This Saturday and Sunday set of games are always really good, and you've got them. Yeah. It's not staggered anymore. You've got a game. So I can't wait, George.
So we're going to close out with a scoreboard update.
Let's close it out. We've got some scores to get to as we start the Friday session of games. We'll start with some finals. Michigan State beats USC the first game of the day, 72-62. Xavier ends up pulling away a little bit there late against Kennesaw State with some free throws, 72-67. Boy, Kennesaw gave a good fight, their first tournament appearance in 40 years. Baylor, the 3 seed, ends up beating UC Santa Barbara 74-56. 5-seeded St. Mary's beats VCU pretty handily, 63-51, a 12-point win, and they controlled that whole game. VCU was a trendy upset pick there. 2-seeded Marquette defeats 15-seeded Vermont 78-61. Those are the finals. We've got a couple at the half. Iowa State trails Pitt by 7, 30-23. So they have sort of come back a little bit there late in that first half. Pitt up by 7.
They needed to.
Yeah. Creighton leads NC State at the half, 28-26. That should be an interesting one to watch. Iona, Rick Pitino and the Gales. They're the Gales, right? They're not the Gales. Who knows? Iona.
St. Mary's is the Gales.
That's St. Mary's, right? Iona leads UConn 11-8. About 5 minutes into that one. So who knows if Rick Pitino is able to pull this off? This Iona team might be able to make a little run here with some other upsets happening in that region.
Yeah, he's got other things on his mind.
Maybe St. John's.
Maybe Notre Dame.
Who knows? Georgia got a lot of games left today in the primetime session, 6 o'clock, Providence and Kentucky. Drake and Miami at 6:25. Grand Canyon will face Gonzaga. FAU and Memphis at 8:20. And then at 8:40, Montana State and Kansas State. Kent State and Indiana. And Arizona State and TCU to close us out. And we've got a full slate tomorrow as well.
Okay, David, do you like my picks?
I'm rolling with Auburn tomorrow. I think Auburn wins outright versus Houston.
War Eagle.
Sasser. I'm all on Auburn tomorrow. Home state team in Birmingham, full crowd. I'm rolling with Auburn.
And it feels like Auburn is due. It feels like Auburn is due for something this year. They've played well at times. They lost a lot down the stretch, but we forget how much talent and depth they do have. But, George, you said it. Janine, it's going to take Broome, Green, their best players to perform. They're going to have that. But with Sasser out, man, it may not be as hard as we think it is for Auburn.
No, they've got to hit shots, but they have been given a break. Actually, they've been given 2 breaks. Number one, they get Houston wounded without Sasser. And secondly, they get a home court that is an 8 or a 9 seed they really had no right to expect.
And how crazy is it that we're saying this? This might be the toughest part of the bracket for Houston. They may be looking at this saying, let's just get out of Birmingham.
Oh, God.
Let's just get out of here alive after what happened with Northern Kentucky. Sasser goes down. Let's just beat Auburn, get out of Birmingham.
And get him in the whirlpool.
And maybe it won't be smooth sailing, but That's probably some of their mindset.
Now, George, are you feeling confident about Kansas? You watched them in the first half yesterday versus Howard. Does Arkansas's length and athleticism not scare you just a little bit?
Yeah, it's not, of the group of them, Vandy is my most solid. Vandy's just flat out better than Michigan. Duke, unfortunately, I feel pretty strong about. I feel strong that Auburn is going to scare the crap out of Houston.
Yep.
And when this is over, if Auburn wins, you're going to hear a lot of screaming and yelling from Houston. Why, as a 1 seed, were they forced to play a road game? That's what they're going to ask. And it's a legitimate question. In a tournament that's supposed to be neutral site, this is anything but neutral.
Yeah. We'll see how many Alabama fans show up to cheer for Houston.
Now, Alabama, they've earned that.
Right.
Auburn has not.
No, they haven't. And if Auburn beats Houston, that's what you're going to hear.
Ooh, you're going to hear a bunch of it.
Yeah, because especially a lot of people that picked Houston in their Final Four as well in their bracket from some bracket busters. So you'll be hearing that.
It's an exciting slate of games. I know Billy's watching that FAU Memphis game tonight. FAU's 31-3 on the year, so they're a trendy pick to kind of.
Man, how about that 8-9 FAU and Memphis? Two really good teams.
Having watched FAU, they are very well coached. He was rumored for
the Ole Miss
job. For the Ole Miss job. Don't be surprised if his name pops up in some other circles, because at 31-3, and maybe it takes a win over Memphis for the rest of the country to notice FAU. They're on a big stage tonight.
Boy, that win, if they beat Memphis, that'd be huge, because I think Memphis is underseeded as an 8 right there. And Memphis is the 8 there.
So more like about a 5.
A 5 or a 6. So Memphis is dangerous. Who's that one with Memphis? It's Purdue. So good luck to Purdue as well for when they face either of those teams.
Okay, we're done for today and done for the week. Want to take a moment and thank Danny Butler and thank Dan Williams. Thank Joel Butcher, the entire staff here at the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. We have had 2 really fun days and looking forward to more in the future. We're out of here. All of you have a great weekend. If you're out driving, do it safely. We'll see you Monday.